successful orthopedic surgeon, why did you decide to enter the world of politics?
It's a great question. I realized early on in my medical career that there were more individuals at the state level in state politics and state government and at the federal level who affected what I could do for and with my patients than anybody I ever met in medical school or residency. And so I said to myself, that just isn't right. That's not the way it ought to be. So I got involved and tried to make certain that we were electing the right people to office at the state level and the federal level. One thing led to another, and I became more interested with my wife in getting good folks into government, and an opportunity opened up in 1996 to run for the state senate, and we took that and were fortunate to be successful, and then run for Congress in 2004. So it really grew out of the concern that I had for my patients and the fact that the federal government was involved in so many aspects of the practice of medicine. And then when I would talk with folks about that in other areas and other endeavors, whether it was education or real estate or insurance or whatever it was, their response usually was, "Oh, you think you got it bad, you ain't heard nothing." And then they'd tell me their story about how the state was making it more difficult for them.
Okay. You were the first Republican Senate Majority Leader in the history of Georgia.
That's right.
How did that come about?
Well, as I mentioned, I was elected first in 1996. Served 3 terms in the minority and then 1 in the majority as we turned the state senate from Democrat to Republican majority in 2002. It was very interesting because when I was first elected after the 96 election, there are 56 state senators in Georgia. I think we had 20 or 21 Republicans. And most of the Republicans that were there were relatively content. They'd never been in the majority. They'd figured out how to work the system to the benefit of their constituents, and they weren't terribly interested in fighting. I felt that there were big issues, spending issues and fiscal responsibility issues and personal issues that I thought needed Republicans in charge in order to get to the right endpoint from a policy standpoint. And so I asked each of them, my Republican Senate colleagues, who wanted to participate in assisting to get a Republican majority. Most of them thought I was crazy, by the way, but there were a couple of them who were interested in helping, and we got together and set up what I had hoped was going to be a 2-year plan. It turned out to be a 6-year plan, and over the course of time, obviously the state recognized that they wanted more responsible conservative leadership, and in 2002 we prevailed.
The president has made healthcare reform the centerpiece of his legislative agenda. Why is he pushing so hard on this issue, and is reform as urgently needed as he claims?
Well, the issue of health care is again one of the big things that drove me into public service. Our healthcare system right now has many wonderful aspects to it, but it's got some real flaws. The status quo is unacceptable for everybody. It's unacceptable for me. It's unacceptable for patients. It's unacceptable for doctors. Many patients are concerned about the cost of health care. They're concerned about the possibility that they will lose their health insurance if they change their job or lose their job. There are some things that we can do to make the system a whole lot better, in spite of the fact that it delivers the highest quality health care in the world right now. But there are some things that need changing. So there is an imperative to do that. The president has come in. He believes he has a mandate to change things. I believe he's overstepped his mandate, and I believe he's misread the American people on what they want with health care. He believes that they want a government-run system. I don't believe that's what the nation has said at all. So hopefully what will happen is that cooler heads will prevail. We'll be able to get together, work together later this year to come up with a positive program for reforming our health care system.
How would you rate the president's press conference last week on health care?
Well, I think it was helpful for the American people because I think it demonstrated his sense, the president's sense, about exactly what he wanted to do. That was to have the government be the final arbiter of medical decisions. But it also, sadly, from my standpoint, demonstrated the remarkable lack of respect that he has for the people providing the care. His comment about physicians making decisions solely based upon what the fee schedule is, I thought was an insult to all physicians and all individuals providing the highest quality of care around this nation. So I think it was helpful. I think it was a greater insight into the President's perspective on health care. I think that the American people have shown by their response to not just that press conference, but his continued conversation about health care, that they're not where he is. He's in a position where the American people don't support, and consequently you see his numbers coming down, and you also see the support for his government takeover of health care significantly decreasing.
You have proposed the Comprehensive Health Care Act, and how does this differ from the President's plan?
What we believe ought to occur in the area of health care is to fix the things that are broken in the system, retain those things that are right, make certain that in fact everybody can keep their health care policy if they like what they've got. The President says that. The bill that he supports wouldn't do that, so we've got the provision that would allow you to keep that. Need to make certain that we get those folks that are having challenges getting insured, getting coverage, insured. It's important that everybody have the kind of health care coverage that they desire for themselves and for their family. There's an easy way to do that relatively from a financial standpoint, so that you make it financially feasible and attractive and foolish for anybody not to be insured. Through the tax code, through pooling mechanisms, so you get people able to connect with literally millions of other Americans for the purchase of insurance, so that the price comes down. And then making it so that they are able to own and control that health insurance, that health coverage. So the insurance companies have to be responsive to patients. That relationship is different now. Insurance companies tend to dictate to patients and to doctors what they can do. If patients owned and controlled their policy, then insurance companies have to be responsive to them. So instead of thinking that it's either the government in charge or the insurance companies in charge, the Comprehensive Health Care Act that we support is a patient-centered act. It has that third road, the road that we believe is most appropriate, and that is where patients and their families are in control.
In your opinion, does Nancy Pelosi have the necessary votes to pass a health care bill in the House?
You mean you doubt her? She says she's got the votes. I think she wants to have the votes. I think if she has the votes, then she'll have a vote this week. If she doesn't have the votes, she won't have a vote this week. But she has said that she has the votes. I take her at her word. I would challenge her, let's go. Let's bring it to the floor. Let's have a vote. I don't think it's what the American people want. So if she's going to force her members of her Democrat caucus to walk the plank yet again on another bill, on another remarkably large policy proposal, then I think that the situation will take care of itself. The American people are still in charge of this nation. They'll speak loudly.
Okay. And lastly, I see that you use both Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm. Do you think that these social media tools are important to the political process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think all of the social media tools, all the new media, all the kinds of things that we can do to communicate with every different sector of society is important. It's no longer where you can simply call the one radio station in your community, or take out or get interviewed by the one editorial board of the newspaper in your community. People get their information across this nation in so many different ways, which is why Facebook's important, YouTube's important, Twitter's important, all those kinds of things where you can reach out and touch people where they are. That's what's important to do as a representative, is to make certain you go to where people are so that they can appreciate and respect what you're doing, try to do on their behalf.